Hey, Pastor Kevin again, and this is the second in a series of 3 videos which train you in prayer. In our last video, we discussed what prayer is and what prayer is not. In this video, I want to rehearse with you the 3 obstacles that we experience in prayer. The first one, as I told you, is our mind. Our mind. Sometimes our mind wanders away. We have every intention of sitting down and communing with the Lord in prayer, but when we sit down, our phone will buzz and there'll be a text or there'll be a call, or we have those push notifications, something happened on Facebook or something happened on Twitter or something happened on ESPN, or we start thinking about the activities that we have to do when we get done praying, and it just paralyzes us when we are praying. And so this mind is a dangerous thing here, to have a mind that wanders away and that's not focused on praying. The second thing I mentioned to you is the ear. The ear. We have this idea in our minds that God is not listening to us. And we think that because God doesn't give us exactly what we want in the time frame that we want it. And so we are paralyzed in prayer because we think something like this: what's the sense in praying that? It's not going to change anything. When in reality, prayer does change something. It changes you and it changes me in the midst of these situations which are tough in life. And so we need to understand that God, sometimes He says yes, sometimes He says no, and sometimes He says wait. But this is certainly an obstacle, something that creates frustration in our prayer lives that we have to come to terms with and overcome. And that is the fact that God does not have a deaf ear. He is listening when you pray. The third one is, as I said, it is your heart. Your heart. And I specifically said here your heart and the guilt that is in your heart that is common to you and to me and to every person that is alive. This guilt and this heart will do one of 2 things. Either your heart will drive you away from God, or your heart will drive you to God. You see, guilt makes you enter into a vicious cycle. And the cycle goes like this. When you sin, you feel guilty. Then you feel shameful. Then you feel insecure. Then you feel like I can't go to God and pray after doing what I've done. Then after that, you try harder. You try to do better. And then guess what happens again? You sin. And so it's just this cyclical cycle of life where we sin, we feel guilty, we try harder, we sin again, we try harder, we feel guilty, and this just drives us away from God because we do not think we can go to God with our guilt. But the second thing guilt can do is guilt can drive us to God. Guilt can drive us to God because we know that He's the only one that can deal with our sin. He's the only one that can remove the guilt. He's the only one that can remove the shame. He's the only one that can provide us the security we need. And so we can go to Him and find verses like this. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. We can find verses like this. If God is for us, who can be against us? If nothing in this earth can separate us from the love of God in Christ, then your sin can't separate you either if you are in His Son, Jesus Christ. So if you're a believer, allow your guilt to do the proper thing, which is drive you to Christ again and again and again so that you can find the healing necessary. Now remember, these are the 3 obstacles that you continually battle and have to overcome in order to experience the prayer life you've always wanted.